Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, thanks for coming back. So today I am going to be talking about my 11. I tried to do top 10, but I couldn't decide. So I have my top 11 favorite neutral palettes in my collection. Listen, neutral palettes are a dime a dozen nowadays, right? I mean, there are so many out there on the market, but these are the most favorite ones I have in my collection, and I feel like they're all a little different. So I'm gonna tell you why I like them, what's different about them. I'm going to attempt to rank the top 5. This is gonna be hard, but I'm gonna start in no particular order. As I'm going through these palettes, by the way, neutral palette means something a little different to everybody. So I have a mix of cool tone neutrals, I have a mix of warm tone neutrals, I have some just neutrals with a twist, that type of thing. Even though you may think that's not a neutral palette, to me it's a neutral palette. Okay, so we're gonna start off with one that is no longer available. We're just gonna get it out of the way right in the beginning. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. This is a good one, you guys. This is a really beautiful palette. Mostly cool tones to neutral tones, not really warm tones, but I love Anastasia Beverly Hills formula. Very pigmented, not really beginner friendly. Their mattes are more powdery. Okay, they have a lot of kick up. I'm sure if you've used them before, you know what I'm saying. But these metallic shadows are so wet looking, beautiful on the eyelids. I love that there is a pop of pink, but if you covered the pop of pink, this would truly be just like a straight up cool toned / neutral palette. I really love it, especially for those like super glam occasions. Gorgeous, gorgeous palette. If you see this at TJ Maxx or Marshall's, because I think I have seen it there, I would definitely suggest picking it up if you're interested, because it is an absolutely beautiful neutral palette. Okay, and the next one. This is a really beautiful palette. I really love it, even though it's super expensive. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension palette. This is the first one. The one I would consider to be a little more neutral toned. This does lean a little bit more warm if I had to pick, neutral to warm. I love that the mattes go from very light to very deep. The shimmers go from very light to very deep. Now this metallic formula is definitely different from the Anastasia formula. It's much more of a toppery, sparkly, piecey, almost dry feeling type of metallic, but it gives a lot of texture, and that's what I really love about this palette. The textures are very different. It's not your basic, boring, basic bitch palette. You know what I mean? It's different. And then of course, the addition of these two cream shadows adds a little bit more interest, a little bit more texture as well. I like the cream shadows a lot. I think they're nice. Oh, it's okay, it's shut. Really beautiful palette, very pricey. I would say if you can get it on a discount, that's even better, but it is worth the full price, in my opinion. All right, we're gonna go a little bit more affordable. We're gonna go to ColourPop. Listen, if you've been here before, you know I love the ColourPop quads. I think these are some of the best quality shadows that ColourPop offers. So I have the most neutral one that I own is called Citrus Fizz. It definitely leans a little more on the warm side because it has that orangey shade, but these shadows are so good. Even better than a lot of high-end shadows. And I believe this little quad retails for $10. Great deal in my opinion. The mattes blend like a dream. They are more on the pigmented side, almost like an Anastasia matte. They remind me of those. And the metallics are so sparkly, but unlike the Patrick Ta, they're creamy. So they're creamy, sparkly shadows. This is a super nice little curated palette that you could just pop in a makeup bag, although be careful, these shadows are very fragile. I've gotten one that was broken, completely broken, because they are really, really lightly pressed in the pan, but gorgeous. Gorgeous neutral palette. Another like classic go-to neutral palette that I absolutely love is the Persona Cosmetics Identity palette. This is the original. I think this is such a beautiful, again, I feel like it's a variety of warm, cool, and neutral tones. There's also pops of purple. There's this more red shade in here. So it's a neutral palette that you could change up and add some color to it as well. These shadows are the easiest shadows to use. Like, they're so beginner friendly. They are buildable yet blendable. The metallics in this are a little bit different than the other ones I've been talking about. They're more on the smooth side. So if you want a metallic that does not enhance texture or wrinkles on the eyelid, this is a beautiful, beautiful shimmer formula. Just super creamy, super smooth, not really sparkly, but still very, very pretty. And so I definitely love. This had to be in my top 10. Here's another one that is no longer available, but I really love this palette and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. And it is, well, I'm just gonna tell you what it is. So this is the Makeup by Mario Glam Quad in Bronzy Glam. It is a more curated little tiny quad. The packaging on this is very nice. It has magnetic closure. I love a magnetic closure. And it is this little quad of bronzy shades, just as the name would tell you. This one has 1 matte and 3 metallics, and I really love the formula of the metallics. I like the matte as well, but I think these metallics are super pretty. They're a little bit different, and all 3 of them have a different texture and they kind of serve a different purpose, which in my opinion, when you have a quad that has versatility, that's like a cherry on top of the sundae. It's not something I expect necessarily, but it is like a nice touch. So you have this more like greeny gold shade, you have a more like true, you know, warm gold, and then a champagne. The formula of this is really, really nice. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and it's a different type of quad because it has that versatility to it. So if you have this, pull it out and use it again because it's a really nice quad. All right, now we're gonna go to another high-end one, okay? This is a hyped palette, but it's for a reason. I think it's a really good palette. So I have the Natasha Denona Glam palette. This one is definitely more on the cool tone side, as you can see. You know, when I first got this palette and I used it, I thought, I mean, it's good. It's not everything and more. But the more I'm using it, the more I feel like I'm getting really beautiful, easy, soft glam looks. And when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, it's just purely like a silvery taupey look that I'm gonna get out of this. But actually, there are different tones in here that you are able to get different looks. It is a mostly metallic palette, which I honestly don't prefer that. I'd prefer more mattes. But what I do like about the metallics is all of the metallics have a slightly different undertone while still being neutral. So like there's more of a pinky, champagne-y type of look that you can get. There's more of that gray, silver, smoky look that you can get. There's more of a tan champagne look that you can get. You can make it more dramatic. You can make it more soft. Although I will say, I don't feel like this goes very, very deep. Even this deepest shade isn't very, very deep. So you're not gonna get like super smoky type of looks, but really pretty soft glam looks. I really like this palette. I would say if you are a beginner as well, you're really gonna like this because it's very, very, very easy to use. I think it is worth the money if you love these tones and you're gonna use them all the time. It's a really good palette. It's a really good gift for someone as well, I think. Now, if you don't wanna spend a lot of money on that Natasha Denona Glam palette and you simply just want a cool tone neutral palette in a more condensed form at a more affordable price, I think the That's Taupe palette by ColourPop is an awesome little curated version of the Glam palette by Natasha Denona. Now, of course, I don't think the quality of these shades is as top-notch as the Natasha Denona Glam palette, but I think they're pretty darn good. I really do. And I like that this has some more textures to it. You have a Super Shock shadow. I feel like these metallics, some of them are a little more on the textured, sparkly side. And the mattes go from deep to light. I feel like there's a little more depth in this one. Now, you are really going to get just a cool toned, grayish, silverish look with this. Really not as much versatility as this one. But again, it's a 9-pan palette versus 15 pans, but it's a really good little condensed cool tone neutral palette, great quality, and I really like this one. Okay, and then next, this is a classic one that I just pulled out recently and started using again, and I'm really loving it. This is the Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette, the original. This is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. This is a great palette. Now, I don't think all of Dominique Cosmetics palettes are created equal. I feel like some of them, the quality is not good. But when she gets it right, she gets it right. with this one and the Berries and Cream, which is more of a berry tone palette. I think those palettes are so good quality. The mattes are blendable. They are buildable. I mean, actually, I would say like between pigmented and buildable, they're that perfect middle of the road. The metallics in this, there's only 3 metallics, and they are that really creamy yet sparkly type of formula. They're really, really nice. And I like that there are these pops of blue and greens. So that you can put some color like on your lower lash line, or you can just create a colorful look with those and pop on a metallic. So there is a little bit of versatility, but the quality of this palette is so good. Really suggest this one. I really like it a lot. All right, this one is kind of a different neutral palette, but I would consider it neutral. This is the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. So I've had a few Naked palettes. This is the only one I have left. I've decluttered all the rest of them because I don't really love Urban Decay shadows, if I'm gonna be honest with you. But this one is different. I love the tones, these mustardy, yellowy, orangey tones. I think they're so beautiful. And it's still neutral, but adding that little bit of a twist in the tone. The quality of these shadows is very good. It is more of a buildable matte formula if you've used Urban Decay shadows before. And the metallics in this, I would say are, you know, they're really pretty, but they are more on that, not super textured side, but really pretty shiny metallics. The mattes go from deep to light. That is something I definitely look for. And there is a good variety of metallics in here. I think it's the best Naked palette that I've tried personally. I think it's a really good and different neutral palette. And then we have the Natasha Denona Mini Biba palette. I've heard mixed reviews about this. I love it. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It is a really compact, easy go-to neutral palette. Now, is it the most, you know, mind-blowing, unique palette in the world? Absolutely not. But it's a neutral palette, a 5-pan neutral palette. Easy, go-to, quick to use. You're gonna get a really pretty, more like rosy, peachy neutral look, but still I would consider neutral. It's a really nice formula. If you've used these 5-pan palettes before, I think the formula is nice. It does come with 4 mattes, although this matte over here is a cream to powder, so it's a little bit different of a texture than a typical matte, but really pretty, and 1 metallic. Like I said, I prefer mattes to metallics. I think the quality on this is good. I like the color story. I like that it's compact. Great for travel. Really nice palette. All right, and last but not least, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. This palette is beautiful. It is definitely neutral, but it is definitely more on the rosy toned side, but you do have warm tones in here. You have more neutral tones. You have a black, you have a creamy matte color. This palette is gorgeous. It's quite dusty and powdery, as Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes tend to be. I mean, I think it is so gorgeous for a deep, smoky, nighttime event type of look. Beautiful. But like I said with the Sultry, I would definitely say it's not beginner friendly. The mattes are very pigmented. These metallics are, you know, typical Anastasia, very creamy, almost crumbly. I mean, really softly pressed in the pan. I love this palette though. I think it is absolutely gorgeous.
Several days later.
Okay, this is future Rachel popping in, which is past Rachel for you, but future from the last Rachel you just saw.
Huh?
I'm here because I forgot 2 very important neutral palettes. So I'm gonna pop these in and then rank the top 5. Okay, so you're getting 13 neutral palettes. So next palette I wanna talk about is the ColourPop Limoncello palette. This palette is fairly new to me. I only got it at the very end of last year, which I was a little late to the game. I love this palette. If you cover up the green and the blue, I would definitely consider it a mostly neutral palette. And in my eyes, this is a neutral palette with a twist. It is so gorgeous. The quality of these shadows is so good. The packaging, I mean, I know that has nothing to do with the actual point of it being neutral, but I don't care. The packaging of this is absolutely gorgeous. It's textured, it feels heavy. It's a really beautiful looking palette. These shadows are neutral, right? But they are a little bit more elevated, especially these shimmers. Some of them have shifts to them. They have dimension. They are just absolutely gorgeous. Now, of course, a apart from those two colorful shadows, you are really gonna get more of a neutral look out of this, but I love this palette. I really, really love it. I don't think they sell it anymore, which is absolutely ridiculous. Of all their palettes that they discontinue, why would they discontinue this one? Who knows what goes on in their head, but love this palette. Love, 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 love this palette. And then, spoiler alert, this one is going to be my top 5 because it is one of my favorite palettes in my collection, period. I don't know how I forgot this the first time around. It is the Oden's Eye Red Dragon palette. I've said this before, but I feel like if I was going to design a palette, it would probably look something very much like this palette. I love, 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 love everything about this palette. If you cover up this red and that green, I consider this to be a neutral palette, but a neutral palette with a twist. These matte shadows are so easy to use, but they're also very pigmented. So they are pigmented and blendable. The tones are gorgeous. You get light to deep, you get different undertones, and then these metallics are much more like textured than the Limoncello palette, which I just talked about, but they're not like chunky. They are just so sparkly. They're opaque. They are beautiful. And one of these is a multi-chrome. Amazing quality. One of my favorite palettes in my collection. I absolutely love it. It's time to rank these top 5 palettes. This was hard, okay? This was very hard, but I'm sticking to my ranking. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. So coming in at number 5, I have the ColourPop Limoncello palette. I've already said what I had to say about it, but this is my number 5 palette if I had to rank them. Coming in at number 4, I have the ColourPop Quad in Citrus Fizz. Guys, I just love these quads. I love them. I really, really love them. So this one would come in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is an all-time classic for me, the Persona Identity palette. You just can't go wrong with this classic palette. It's foolproof, it's gorgeous. Coming in at number 2, I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. I mean, just look at it. Would you just look at it?
Well, would you look at that? Yeah,
and coming in at number 1, can I get a drum roll, please? Oden's Eye Red Dragon palette. You probably saw that coming after I was just gushing over it. It's everything. It's everything I want in a neutral palette. It gives me versatility. I can get a sparkly shadow. I can just do a matte look. It is perfection. It's perfection. I love it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You have got to let me know down in the comments what your favorite neutral palettes are. I am dying to know your favorites. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, both beauty and fashion videos, and I'd love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time. Bye.